Okay, welcome to part 2 and question 19. If you're wondering what happened to questions 1 to 18, you need to find part 1 for, which was this? This is the one which is called November or June 2020, because it's the year when we only had the one set of exams. Right, Adam, Linda and Ritis share an amount of money. Linda gets 3 times as much as Ritis gets. Linda gets half as much as Adam gets. What fraction does Linda get? It's confusing. I use boxes to draw this out. Who's got the... Linda gets half as much. She gets 3 times. Right, so she gets 3 times as much as Ritis gets. Let's say that Ritis has that much. And therefore Linda will have 1, 2, 3. Linda, Linda, Linda. Linda gets half as much as Adam gets. So Adam must get 3 times 2 is 6, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's Adam from there to there. What fraction does Linda get? Well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal parts. And Linda is getting 3 of them. So Linda gets 3/10. Question 20. Pencils cost £1.80. The ratio of a cost of a pen and the cost of a pencil is 7 to 3. Work out the cost of 5 pens. So the pencils, the pens are the 7, aren't they? So the pens are what we don't know. But we do know that there's 7. So I'm going to draw 7 boxes, 4, 5, 6, 7, to show the pens. And then I'm going to draw 3 boxes, 1, 2, 3. And the basic rule of ratio is that to keep the proportion the same, what this means is that the number in each box has to be the same each time. So I know that the cost of the pencils altogether is, that's £1. Hang on, we can work out, let's work out what 1 pencil costs first of all. Yeah, 1 pencil. So 180 divided by 12, you can do that in your calculator, and that's going to give you 0. Into 18 goes once with 6 left over, so 0.15. So it's 15 pence per pencil. So that means that's 15p, that's 15p, that's 15p. There's 3 of those. How many pens are there? There's 7. So 7 times 15 equals... Hang on, I just realised something's gone wrong, isn't it? Because this is 1 pen, 1 pencil. So this thing here, this bar, this is like a thinking tool. And what I suddenly realised is a pencil is a thing of 7 to 3, and 1 pencil is 15. So I don't want 15 in each box. I'm going to draw those boxes again. 1 pencil is costing 15 pence. So if I divide that by 3, I get 5p. So it's 5p, 5p, 5p. And what that means is now my pens, I've got 7 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each of those is going to be 5 pence all the way for the ratio. So 7 times 5 is 35p per pen. Now I want the cost, and if I look down here, it wants it in pounds, so 0.35 is 1 pen, and I want 5 pens, so I need to do 0.35 times 5, which is 1.75. So we're talking £1.75 for 5 pens. Right, question 21. You've got product of prime factors followed by lowest common multiple of 60 and 84. There's 2 marks for this part as well, so give that a go too. Prime factors, you want to use a factor tree. Think of 2 numbers that go into 84. Well, because it's even, I know 2 goes in, and it goes in 42 times. Now, because we're looking for prime factors, we're looking for any prime number. 2 is a prime number because only 1 times 2 makes 2. So I'm going to put a circle around that so I don't do any more branches. If it's not prime, then it needs 2 branches coming off. Again, that's even, so I could do 2 times 21. Again, 2 is a prime number. What times what makes 21? 3 times 7. And 3 and 7 are both prime. You can only get them by doing 1 times 3 or 1 times 7. So this is what I need. To get my full answer, though, I need to write that 84 equals 2 times 2 times 3 times 7. Another way you can do it is you can say 2 squared times 3 times 7, but either or will be fine. You don't have to have the 84 equals, but I like to. You could double check your answers right, by the way, by putting into your calculator 2 times 2 times 3 times 7, and it should say equals 84 when you hit the button. Now they want the lowest common multiple of 60 and 84. We've done part of this work for 84. There's a bit of a hint in what's going on that we need to do the same thing for 60. So 2 times 30, 2 times 15, again ringing the 2's because they're prime, and then it's 3 times 5. And now what I'm going to do is use a Venn diagram to compare 60 with 84. So 60 equals 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. 84 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 7 is 84. Now in the middle, they're not asking for it this time, but in the middle you get the highest common factor, the biggest number that goes into them both. And you get that by multiplying all the factors that they've both got. So there's 1, 2, there's another 2, and there's a 3. They've both got 2 times 2 times 3 in them. 2 times 2 times 3, you can check it in your calculator. 2 2's are 4, times 3 is 12. So that means that 12 is the highest common factor of them both. Now, here's a clever bit. The 5 that you need then to make 60 goes in there. The 7 that you then need to make 84 goes in there. That loop times it together gives you 84. That loop times those 2 together gives you 60. If you times all 3 together, it gives you the smallest number they both go into, which is what we call the lowest common multiple. So 5 12s are 60 times 7 is 420 as your final answer. Right, question 22. For the second part, part B, there's 2 marks. Right, so completing the Venn diagram, we need all the even numbers have got to be in A, but the factors of 10 have got to be in there as well. I'm just going to write those down first of all. So 10 has got 1 times 10, and it's got 2 times 5. Those are the only numbers that can go into it. So 1, 2, 5 and 10 need to be in the B loop, but the even ones of those also need to be in the A loop. So 2 and 10 need to be in there. The factors of 10, so that's also 1 and 5, so that's got all of those in there. And then let's just make sure I've crossed those out, because it's a really, these are easy marks actually, especially at this time of the paper, but it's very easy to miss a number out. So we've got a 6 here, and an 8, and a 3, and a 9, and there's another 4. And we then need the probability that it's in the set A. That means intersection. So the bit between A and B is 2 and 10. So there are 2 of those numbers out of all the 10 numbers that you've got there. So 2 over 10 or 1/5 would be fine. Question 23. There's 5 marks for this question, so take your time on it and see how much you can get. So Carlo's put 6 tins into each small box and 20 into each large boxes. He puts a total of 3,000 so that the ratio of the small to the large is 2 to 3. So I'm going to start, as I always do with ratio, by drawing some boxes. And the basic thing you just need to remember is that the size of each box is the same and it will have the same amount of whatever it is that's in it. So they're saying 3,000 tins are going in all of the boxes. So all I now need to think about is how many boxes have I got? 5. So if I do 3,000 divided by 5, you can use your calculator for that, or you can do it any other way that you like. You get 600. So there'll be 600 there, 600 there, 600 there, 600 there, and 600 there. I haven't even thought about what the question's asking me yet. It says, Carlo says that less than 30% of the boxes filled with tins are large boxes. So the large boxes are going to be 3 times 600, which is 1,800. So I'm going to get a mark for having split this into small and large. I'm going to get another mark for getting how many large boxes there are. I'm also going to get a mark for working out what 30% are. So 30% of 30% is 0.3. So 0.3 of, to find 30% of something with the calculator, you just do 0.3 times it. So the box is filled with tins. 30% of the boxes. So we need to think actually about how many boxes there are rather than how many tins there are, don't we? So that's 1,800 tins, but how many boxes are there? We've got 1,800 tins, but 1,800, 20 tins in each box divided by 20 is 90. So that is 90 boxes. And in the small ones, we've got 1,200, because 2 times 600 is 1,200, divided by 6, because these are much smaller boxes, so we need a lot more boxes. So that's going to be 200. So we've got 200 small boxes, and we've got 90 boxes. So 200 plus 90 equals 290 boxes all together. So I need to know what 0.3, what 30% of 290 is. So I put that into my calculator. 290 times 0.3, or you can find 10% and times it by 3 if you'd prefer, and that gives me 87. So 87 equals 30% being large. Actually, there's 90, there's 3 more. So Carlo is wrong, as 90 is more than 30%. And exactly how you do that doesn't matter. You could work out that 90, if you do 90 over 290 and times it by 100, that would turn it into a percentage. So you might have done this, 90 over 290 times 100, giving you 31.03%, which is more than 30. So again, you would say Carlo is wrong. But either way would be absolutely fine, and you get the extra mark. You can only get 5 marks if you've said Carlo is wrong at the end, but just saying Carlo is wrong with a load of wrong working doesn't get you the mark. Completing the table of values, and when we've done that, we need to plot it on that graph. Now, a calculator is great for this. If you go to Menu and Table, where's Table? There we go. So just press. It says function of x is what that stands for. Pretend that means y, and then we put 5 minus x cubed in. 5 take, we need to put the letter x in, so alpha x to get the pink x that's there, and then cubed. And then if I press equals, it says function g. That's for another function. We don't need another one, so I'm just going to press equals to ignore that. Start. Now I don't want it to start at 1, I want it to start at x is negative 2. Press equals. I want it to end at 2. Could go up to 5, but I don't need to. And the step, it's going up in whole numbers. Sometimes it'll be 0.5s, but it's in step 1, which is what it is already, so I just press equals again. And it now gives me what x should be, what y will be for each one. So, and you know that I know I've got it right, because if I go to x is negative 1, can you see that it says 6? And they've given us 6 there already. So I just need to copy these values out. So it says 13 for negative 2, it says 5 for 0, it says 4 for 1, and then I just need to toggle down. It says negative 3 for 2. And I could have done that by doing x cubed. So I could have said, well, when x is negative 2, that would be 5 take negative 2 cubed. Now, negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. So that would be 5 take negative 8. And when you take a negative, that's like adding. So if you didn't want to use a calculator, you could do it all that way, and the same for the other values. But just get used to using the table function. If you're not sure what I did, rewind it, go back, watch it again until you get good at doing it, because it's a real easy way to get marks once you've got it. Now that's 2 marks, and we get 2 marks for plotting these on the grid. So where it says negative 2 is my x value, my y value is 13. So 12 halfway along there, put a cross in. Then negative 1, 6, 0, 5, halfway between the 4 and the 6, 1, 4, and 2, negative 3. At this point, I should use a pencil. And what they want for the second mark, so you get 1 mark for putting the crosses in, but you do need to put a curve in there, and it's got to go all the way from the negative 2 part. Now, you don't have to do it in one go. I tend to use a lot of little lines and just build it up very lightly. And then I go through and thicken it up. But they're going to if it wiggles a bit, it'd be a very harsh examiner not to give you the full marks for it. So mine's not perfect, but it's fine. Question 25. So you've got a right angled triangle. Give it a go. If you're confused, this is not Pythagoras. It would be Pythagoras if they told us 2 lengths and you wanted to work out the third. If they tell you a length and an angle, it's trigonometry. So, for trigonometry, first thing to do is label the sides. Opposite the right angle is the longest side. That's called the hypotenuse. I'm going to call that an H. And in fact, before even doing that, I'm going to write out SOHCAHTOA. And then the O is the opposite. So opposite the named angle is what it means. So opposite that angle there, we call that one O. And the A stands for adjacent. Adjacent means next to. This is next to the angle, as is the hypotenuse, but this one isn't the longest one. So that's the adjacent. Now I say, what do I know? I know the hypotenuse. I want to know the opposite. That means the adjacent is irrelevant. So I'm looking to use, out of these 3 things in SOHCAHTOA, the one that involves both the opposite and the hypotenuse. The adjacent is in that one and that one, so I don't want ka or toa, I want so because of that. Now what you need to know is that so means sine of the angle, for which we often use all sorts of symbols, but sine of the angle, you could call it sine x, equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. So we're going to substitute those values in. Sin 34, because that's the angle there, equals the opposite is actually the x that we're going for, over the 178 that we've got there. Now I don't want x divided by 178, so I'm going to need to rearrange that by multiplying both sides by 178. It's going to give me 178 sin 34 equals x. And there's 2 marks for this. You get 1 mark for having that written down. I know it seems quite a lot of work. Once you've got used to it, these aren't so nasty. So if I go back into my calculator, I need to put in 178 sin 34. Now notice it's opened the brackets. If I press equals now, it gives me 99. Is that right? But let's see if it's the same. Yeah, oh, so it didn't actually matter in this case, but sometimes if you've got other numbers after it, it can mess things up. So that's giving me 99.536. Now I'm going to write down 99.53 first of all, because it says 1 decimal place, and I want to make sure I get this right. So having written it down, I'm now going to put a box around the part of the number that I want. I want 99.5, look at the 3, that means I round down and it stays as 99.5. Now there are no units on this dotted line, so I can lose a mark if I don't put millimeters. Oh, actually I wouldn't, because it says the value of x. It doesn't say how long the side is. So actually 99.5 would have got you 2 marks if you did that. Right, a vector question. So this is a grade 5 question, but it's one that actually you could sort of guess it. 2a. So if a is 3, 4, 2a is going to be double that. So instead of 3, I'm going to times both these numbers by 2 to give me 6 and 8. And then 3b will be both those times by 3. So 3 5s are 15, 3 negative 2s are negative 6. Now I want to do 6 take 15. Now if you're confused about your negatives, just get the calculator out. You don't have to be tested on whether you can do that as long as you use your calculator. Oh, that gives me negative 9. And then 8 take negative 6 is actually the same as adding. But if you can't remember that, just do 8 take negative 6. And it tells you 14. It will sort that stuff out for you, or any problems you have with that. So that is our final answer. Negative 9, 14. Right, here's a tricky little 4-mark question. But there will be marks for working along as far as you can get. So you're trying to find out the area of the quarter circle. So the area of that part. Well, the area of a circle is pi r squared. So if we call it a there, we actually want a quarter of that, which you can do by just putting the whole thing over 4. So I'm going to write that down first of all. And then all I need to know is what is the radius. Now if you imagine a whole circle, the radius is this distance from there to there, which is the same as this distance from here to here. So actually this is a Pythagoras question. We know 2 sides now, so we can work out the third. So you may well know a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's Pythagoras. Which one is c? C is the hypotenuse. Which is that? It's the longest side, and the longest side is always opposite the biggest angle, so it's always opposite the right angle. So that is your c. This one you could call a or you could call b, and this one you could call a or you could call b. So you can say that 6 squared plus b squared equals 9 squared. With a bit of rearrangement, you can say that b squared equals 9 squared take 6 squared. But we don't want to know that. We want to know what b is, so we need to do the square root of it. And you can put that all in your calculator in one go. Look at this. Press that. Then what was it I wanted to do? I wanted to do 9 squared, take 6 squared, press equals, gives me 3 root 5. Now I'm not going to worry too much about that. I now want to do this area. So the area is going to be pi times 3 root 5 squared all over 4. But actually you can use the answer, it'll remember this. If I now do, press the fraction key, put in pi, which is shift and down here, because that's the pi symbol, shift pi times. Now if instead of writing that stuff, I just press the answer key, which is down there, and then do that squared over 4 and press equals, it gives me 45 over 4 pi. It says it wants it to 3 significant figures. So then I press S to D, and that's that's the first significant figure, that's the second, that's the third. I'm going to write the fourth one down for now, and then look at it and say, right, I'm going to round that. 4 is less than 5, so it's not going to round it up, it's just going to stay where it was. 35.3 meters squared. Question 28. Each exterior angle of a regular polygon is 15 degrees. Now, if you imagine any polygon, so I'm just going to sort of sketch a pentagon here, the exterior angle is that one there. Now, if I was to sketch around all of them, I would get them like that. It's a continuation of this straight line on here. Now, the reason it's important is if you imagine I was here, I did a turn, walked along to here, did a turn, walked along to here, did that much of a turn each time. Eventually, by the time I get round to here, I would have walked a full circle. So you can work out how many sides, the size of, if it was a regular pentagon, 360 divided by 5, which is 72 degrees, means that'll be 72. Now, that's true for any regular polygon. So the 360 divided by the number of sides equals that. But if I divided 360 by 72, I would get 5, how many sides there are. So what we need to do here, 360 divided by 15, do that in your calculator, and you get 24. And that's it, 24 sides to that shape, a lot of sides. We've done it, we've reached the final question, so there it is. So what do you think? This is a y equals mx plus c question. The number, the coefficient of x we call it, is the gradient, and c is the y-intercept. So here, they're just asking you for the gradient. It means how steep the line would be if you drew that. So it is just 2, just a 1-mark question. Okay, folks, I hope that went quite well. Remember, keep on doing past papers. The more you do, the better you'll do in the exam. And remember, making mistakes only costs you when you do your final exam. So you want to make as many mistakes as you can. And even in the final exam, by not being scared to make mistakes, you will get more marks because you will do stuff that you would have thought you weren't quite sure of. And sometimes just making those mistakes jogs your mind and you go, oh no, that's not right. This is what it should be. Anyway, folks, cheerio.